Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, my favorite question to start off is what is your sober date?
It is March 9th, 2022.
Okay, that's awesome. So you're coming up on 3 years. You got two and a
Hmm.
little over 2.5 years now.
Yes, I do.
That's awesome. Congratulations. What
Thank you.
um what was going on with you on March, you said 20th?
The ninth.
March 9th. So what was going on March 8th?
March 8th, I was living in Baltimore, Maryland, and my family lives in North Carolina, so it was like a 10-hour drive. So actually on March 7th was a bad day. I rented a room in a house with a bunch of other addicts, and that day I lost some money that I owed people, which I had a roommate that covered it. And I was supposed to do a drug run, go to a hotel, pick up the drugs, and bring them back for a roommate to sell. Well, I was sick. I was going through withdrawals, didn't have my stuff. I was on heroin and cocaine. So I was sick, so I didn't go. Pretty much everybody in the house was mad at me, wanting to fight me. I've never been in a fight. I don't fight. I've got beat up, but I never fought back. So everyone was mad at me in the house. One of them especially was threatening to beat me up. Um, the actual drug dealer I was supposed to be meeting, he liked me, so he wasn't mad at me for not coming. So, I lived with my boyfriend at that time there. He come home from work. He was always mad if I didn't have money. I was supposed to be panhandling to get money. If I didn't, he would get mad. So he was mad that day that like I had owed money and I didn't do what they wanted. We still got our stuff and pretty much that whole night we stayed up late, using all this that and the other. And usually we would have to keep stuff for the mornings we wake up and would be sick and then he would go to work. Well, we didn't do it that night and I was supposed to get up at like 4 a.m. to go get stuff, but I overslept. So he had to be worked, I think it was like at 7. I woke up at like 6:45 maybe. He was yelling at me, was very mad. He got my phone, texted my mom and said, "Come get me, I'm ready to come home." He had threatened that many times, never done it. He actually sent a message. My mom calls me. I'm thinking they're 10 hours away. She called me, and I just answered myself, "Mom, I'll call you back. That wasn't me, that was him." She said, "Audrey, I'm outside of your house. I'm at your front door." I'm like, "No, you're not." She's like, "I am outside your door. Come outside." Went outside, and there's my parents and one of my friends that I like a family friend. And my parents jumped out of the car, and my dad about broke down because I was 76 pounds. My bones were sticking out, and my dad grabbed me, and he said, "Please come home." Sorry, I'm getting emotional talking about this. I'm sorry.
No, you're
He
not
said,
too.
"Please come home." And I was sick. I was on the withdrawals. I'm like, "Look, I'm fucking sick. I'm ill. Like, I can't do this." And they're like, and my dad said, "I'm not leaving until you come home." He said, "I will sit on the sidewalk, but I'm not leaving." So they said, "You don't need to bring anything. Don't just get your phone. That's all you need to get and come on." So they got into it with my boyfriend because he wouldn't come outside. He had my phone. He threatened to call the police. They threatened to call the police. So I went back inside and I told him, I said, "I'm going to go for now." So I went in and got my phone. And my friend, she said, "Look, we'll get you whatever you need." I said, "I can't make this trip home being this sick." She's like, "We'll get you what you need." So there was a methadone clinic I went to previous, like a few months before, and I knew they had a quick intake, and I knew they would give me a dose for that day and a dose, like usually a day's dose for the next day. So I called. They said, "Bring her in." So I went, done my intake, like 15 minutes. They give me a 30 milligram, I think it was 30 milligram, or no, 40 milligram dose. Give me one for the next day. So I made it home that night. 10-hour drive. I slept most of the way home. Um, by the time I got home, I was getting sick again, so I took half the dose because I was going to go to a clinic where I lived the next day. So I took like 20 milligrams. Got up at like 4 o'clock the next morning. I took the rest of it. Went to the clinic. It was a very long intake. I got halfway through my intake, and they found out that I got a dose from another clinic. They said, "We cannot dose you today. You can finish your intake and come tomorrow." I was not happy because I was sick, but counselor told me, he's like, "Look, just take some Z-Quil and some Motrin. I know it's gonna be rough, but that will help." So I went and done that, and I made it okay. I slept a lot until late in the night. I started getting really sick. Um, the clinic opened at 5, so we got up like 4:30 to go. By the time I got to the clinic, I couldn't walk. I was having to lean on my parents to walk. I literally laid in the counselor's office on a couch, holding the trash can, puking. I was so sick. Finished my intake. When I went to see the clinic doctor, he, since I was so underweight, he didn't know what was going on. The way I was acting, he thought I had mental damage. My parents are like, "Look, she doesn't, like, she's got all the paperwork herself, like, she's just really sick." He said, "I will only dose her if you promise to take her straight to the emergency room from here because she is severely underweight." So they did, and he gave me 30 milligrams. I went to the hospital, they run tests, everything was fine. I had no, because he thought, like, she probably had internal damage. They did test, everything was fine. They said I was fine. So, I went every day to the clinic. I had to go 6 days a week. So, they would slowly increase my dose. I think it was like 5 milligrams every day or two. So I tried to keep my dose low. I actually went up to 45 milligrams, and that's where I stopped at. I stopped going through withdrawals. Like 30 milligrams doing good, 35 felt better, 40 felt pretty good, 45 done great, held me all day. I started eating a lot. I was eating about every hour. I gained a half a pound a day for the first several weeks until I got up to a healthy weight. And also on methadone, it makes you crave sweets. So I ate a lot of Debbie cakes and a lot of toaster strudels. But I stayed on the 45 milligram methadone. I stayed on it for 7 months. And then I felt confident that I wanted to start tapering. So they started tapering me bracelets. They took me down 1 milligram every other week. We did that for a while, and then they said it'd come down 2 milligrams every week. So it took me a total of 9 months to come off of it. So I was on methadone for 16 months. So I come off of it. That was very, very rough. When I got down about the last 8 milligrams and then off, I was in withdrawals for 2 months. The first month, I literally could not move. I stayed on the couch. I could not sleep. Anytime I eat, I would get sick. Like, I lost back down. I lost like probably 15 to 20 pounds, which was fine. I was up high enough then that, it didn't hurt me. And, everything hurt. My legs would crawl, my arm, the back. It was rough, but I got through and I kept telling myself, like, "Look, you never have to go through this again. Giving up is not an option." So I got through it. And the last time I took a dose was July 17th, 2023. So,
No, that's cool. So you've been off it for a while now.
yes.
That's good. How do you feel now that you're off of it and you got through the worst of it?
I feel great. Like, I'm healthy and I feel great. I have energy now and I usually sleep. I've not been lately because I'm in school, so that kind of stresses me out. But other than that, I have a lot of energy, build myself back up. I'm at a healthy weight. You know, I feel good. Like,
Do you
I
have
don't
one
feel
of
like,
the
I felt like with that, it would like hold me down. Like, having to be at the clinic so many times, like it was once a week, but still, anytime I'd say anywhere, I'd have to take my log box and it just, I don't know, it made me tired, drugged down. Like, it just kind of felt like it was holding me down, and I didn't want that to hold me down anymore. Like, I wanted to feel normal without any medication.
and you did it the right way because I feel like Suboxone and methadone shouldn't be a permanent problem. I feel like
Exactly.
Suboxone and methadone should be a temporary problem for a permanent solution.
Yeah, when I asked to taper, they were hesitant about it because I hadn't been on it long. They said that you're supposed to stay on it as long as you were using, which would have been like 2.5, 3 years. But I didn't want to be that long because I wanted to move on. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to work. And then they suggested going on like Suboxone or Subutex. I'm like, I don't want to give up one thing for something else. I just want to be done with all of it. So, because they said like the statistics were very low for being, for staying clean, but so far I've not had any problems. I don't have any desires to use. Like, there's nothing about that is enticing to go back to. Nothing at all.
So you're born and raised in North Carolina?
Yes, I was born and raised there. When I was 18, I got married, moved to Virginia,
Well,
lived there for a few
we'll get
years.
to that. Let me go back. So born
Okay.
and raised in North Carolina. I lived in North Carolina for 1 year. I lived in Durham
Okay.
and did a lot of coke and did a lot of drinking in
Hmm.
Durham. What part are you from?
Right outside of Asheville.
Okay, so you're like Western North Carolina.
Yep.
Okay, I'm familiar. um, so you're from Asheville area, North Carolina. Um,
Hmm.
you guys got hit pretty bad with that storm, didn't you?
Yes, Asheville was hit very, very hard. Where I live, particularly, it's like right outside Asheville, like Leicester, right the next town right next to it. Our town to get hit bad. I mean, we got a little bit, but Asheville was like messed up really bad. It still is.
Yeah. All right. So, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one sister. She's 5 years older. She's never done drugs, never done drugs, nothing like that.
Yeah, my brother and sister never touched drugs either. I was the one that did all the mistakes.
Yeah.
So, your parents are still together, it sounds like.
Yes, they've been married, I think, 46 years.
Damn,
Yeah.
it's a long time.
Yes, and they have been the best support. I couldn't have done this without them. Like, they took care of me when I was sick. Like, they waited on me hand and foot. They have supported me, pushed me. They do everything for me.
Do you have one of those before and after pictures with what you look like before?
I do.
Okay, send that to me because I'll put it up.
I will.
Because 76 pounds, that's like, I can see why they wanted you to go to the hospital if you were 76 pounds.
Yes, because I'm 5'2", so that's severely underweight. I was wearing kid size clothes. I was wearing like a medium and little girls' clothes because the dog clothes, even size zero jeans, they were baggy and falling off.
That is it. I've I've been doing this show for 2.5, no, 3.5 years. I've been doing this show, and that is the lightest that I've heard somebody be. Like I've heard some people have some really, small amounts, but 76 pounds, that's like that's a lot.
Yeah, and like the doctor told me, the clinic doctor, he's like, if you don't get clean, you're gonna die. He's like, I would give you like a month to live. And like, I knew I was in bad shape, but I didn't realize I was that close to death.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I overdosed 4 times, was completely gone. I was Narcan back. I knew that was always a chance I was taking every time I shot up, but I still did anyway. But I didn't realize that, getting that small, I was killing myself pretty much by the day.
So you grew up in Asheville. What did you discover first, drugs or alcohol?
Drugs. I never liked much alcohol. I've been drunk like maybe twice in my whole life. That was not a thing, but I discovered drugs. I was in Tennessee. My husband had just left me. I had foster kids. I just had to give them up. My husband left me. I was working, so
Okay, so wait, you got married before you found drugs.
yes, I got married at 18. I didn't find
You
drugs until like 8 years later.
so you didn't even smoke cigarettes.
No,
I mean, or
didn't
smoke
do
weed.
anything.
No,
No.
no weed. So you were good all through high school,
Yes.
and then you get married at 18. Who did you marry at 18 years old?
This guy named Brad, we had dated for about 3 years. He was my first boyfriend. Um, he was abusive, mainly mentally and verbally, some physically. But I tried to make it work. Um, but after 7 years, I knew he was cheating on me. I knew he was. But I had foster kids, so I was trying to wait until I could get like a new one was going back to her family. So I was trying to get in a place where like I could leave and take them with me and support myself. But I was planning on doing that in December. The September before that, he sat me down one night and he's like, "Look, I decided I'm leaving you." And I'm like, "Okay, like just if you just like, cause he wouldn't let me work. He was very controlling. He would not let me work. So I said, like, look, just help me pay, stay here, like I'm with bills or whatever, till I can get a job." And he said, okay. And he stayed until November, but I had already moved out. I was staying with my new boyfriend that actually got me on drugs. Me and that boyfriend moved back in my house that November. That last child I had, he went to another family in January. I had a good job. I was working at John Deere. Um, had my own house, my own car, doing good. And I knew this guy had been on drugs. He told me that he wasn't anymore. I believed him. One night I was laying on the couch and all of a sudden he started laughing and I felt something. I'm like, what did you just do? And he said, I just shot you with drugs. And he had mentioned before and I told him I did not want to do drugs because I hated drugs because I had foster kids that's why they were in foster care because their parents were on drugs. Had little kids that I had that were addicted to drugs from being born in it and drugs done around them. I seen the withdrawals that they went through. I hated it. And he done that. Well, I mean, of course, it felt good. So, it made Maddie did it, but I'm like, I was high, felt good. So I'm like, okay, like, we could just occasionally for fun. Occasionally began every weekend. The weekends became longer. We went from Saturday to Sunday, Friday to Sunday, Thursday to Monday, Wednesday. Like, it just kept going until it's all week long. Um, that went on for about 9 months.
What did he shoot you up with?
Crystal meth. So,
Because
I ended
that
up
one
quitting
you
my
don't need
job.
to hit a vein for crystal meth. It can go into muscle.
Actually, it's kind of embarrassing, but he shot up my butthole. I never shot up crystal meth. I did heroin and cocaine and all that, but with that, I usually just smoked it. Um, but I enjoyed it. Felt good. Give me a lot of energy. Could stay up for hours, but it would cause me to miss work. I ended up quitting my job. My car got repossessed because everything was like as soon as my paycheck would go in, my boyfriend would get my card and he would go. I'd try to hide money from him. He would find it. He would search everything until he found the money I had. So I thought he was paying the car payment. And one day they come and tow my car. And then the house payment wasn't getting paid either. So I was trying to get a loan to get it. Um, then some people come to stay for a weekend. They never moved out. That guy and my boyfriend both had warrants. Um, I ended up getting arrested. The day I got arrested, I told the other people to come to stay. I told them that I wanted them out of my house because
Why'd you
they
get
were. I'm sorry.
Why'd you get arrested?
Because the cops came, someone called and reported us, and the cops came and they found the other guy in there that had a warrant because I said he wasn't there, and they found him, and
So
I got
something
obstructed of
just
justice.
yeah.
Yes, so I went to jail. That was like on Tuesday night. I tried to call my ex-husband. Like I had the money in a check, and I'm like, I just need to get me out. And like he went. I called my sister. She wouldn't even take my calls because she found out I was arrested. So I hadn't even had. I had like nothing on my record. Never been arrested. Never in trouble. Um.
And this is all in
So
Tennessee.
yeah, this was in Tennessee, and right outside of Johnson City. So I locked up with Tuesday night. I had court, I think Thursday, and my bail was like $1,000. I had $100 check. I just needed somebody to get it. Nobody would get it out. Nobody would get me out. Friday night in the middle of the night, they come and got me and said someone bailed you out, and it was some friends of my boyfriend. They said, look, you can stay with us, but he can't stay. Like somebody helped us once, we're gonna help you. So they got me out, and I went to their house that night, got cleaned up. I went back to my house the next day, and I got robbed by the people who turned me in. They come and took all my appliances, stole every one of them.
Oh, your
And
what?
All my appliances, like my refrigerator, stove, oven, freezer, they stole everything. And I knew like when they came, my boyfriend hid in the wall because they had a warrant. They can't find him. He cut off a place in the wall and hid in the wall, so they never found him. But I knew the bounty hunter was still looking because he got arrested and I'd bailed him out like probably several months before. So I knew they were still around, so I would just go and get stuff, and then I was trying to stay the places, and I thought I want to get clean. Everywhere I went, there was drugs. So I had a cousin in Baltimore. I don't really know my family that good because I didn't grow up around them. I'd seen him like once, but I knew he'd be on drugs in recovery. I'm like, look, I told him what's going on. He's like, go to meetings. He's like, find some women in your areas and go. And then he said, look, if you need help, he said, I will come get you and you can come live with me. I'll take care of you. So I had to go back to court. My parents paid for a lawyer, got a good lawyer that I knew personally. And he said, look, I know this ain't your charges. He said, but you need to get clean. He said, either go to rehab or go to your cousin's. So within 24 hours, my cousin was there and went to court with me. And they said I had to come back in 30 days. So I talked to the bail bonds when they bailed me out. I'm like, look, he said, yes, just give me your address where you're at and come back to court. So I moved to Maryland with my cousin that I didn't really know, but moved with him and his wife and his daughter. And, it was a big change because, like, I didn't know anybody and, was leaving everything I knew and everybody I knew. My boyfriend threatened to kill himself if I left. I said, well, get yourself clean and come up here with me. You can go to recovery house, which is what he did a few weeks later. But my cousin, he has a business. He gave me a job, and I started going to meetings and got my slip signed. 30 days, I went back to court, and I had all my things of where I've been in meetings, where I had a job, all that, and so like a $25 fine and 30 days probation. And then he said my record would be clear, so I went back to Maryland. It was difficult with my cousin. We're very different. He can be difficult and hard to get along with, but I was also going through a lot of changes. Um, I ended up getting a job at that's called Royal Farms, but it's like a little restaurant gas station.
Oh, I'm from Pennsylvania.
And
I know Royal Farm.
okay,
They got
I worked
they
at
got
Royal.
great fried chicken.
Yes, they do. So I worked there. I broke up with my boyfriend. He ended up actually getting arrested and hauled back to Tennessee. And I met a guy in the NA meetings, and we got together. And we done go. We would meet together. Then one night he started acting weird, and I didn't want to accuse him, but I thought he was using. It said that he was not, that it was sleeping medicine. When I was at my cousin's in bed, and my younger second cousin, there was a teenager, was like, "Your boyfriend's getting arrested." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "He was laying out in the middle of the road. He didn't get arrested, but the neighbors called because they seen him acting crazy out in the middle of the road." He's like, "Okay, yeah, I apologize. I was doing drugs." My cousin kicked me out. He said, "You've got 2 weeks to get out." I didn't know he was using. I did not know. He said that I was using, which I wasn't. I said, "You can drug test me, but that's fine. I'll move out." So I started trying to find a place to live. My mom came up there to visit because they were bringing me a car. And my boyfriend ended up in the hospital, so I was staying there. Pretty much lived in the hospital for like 2 weeks. We finally found a place to live, a room to rent, and we moved in there. And he said he was clean, and he kept acting weird, but he told me he was on Suboxone. I was naive and did not know. He would take my car and go in town and say he was getting boy and girl, but he said it was blood pressure medicine. And I thought it was kind of strange, but I didn't know what it looked like. The people we was renting from, they were also in recovery. They searched our stuff and found a crack pipe and different things, and they kicked us out. So we started renting a room in another place. So the last place, it had been a recovery house at one time, but it was no recovery house. People in there were using, but they tried to keep it low key. Very, very nasty. They was overridden with mice. cockroaches, bed bugs. It was nasty, and I was not raised that way. Um, so I lived there, and I went to school. I was going for phlebotomy. I had about 9 months clean. My boyfriend was still using. I found out then for sure he did confirm he was using. I managed to stay clean for like 3 months into that, and then I was living in a house with everybody's using, him using in front of me. I relapsed and did heroin. I snorted for the first time for pain. Pain kept getting more and more imaginary, and then he shot me up with a speedball, heroin and cocaine mixed. The second time he shot me up, I overdosed. It was gone. And he turned around and I was laying there blue, not breathing. He Narcaned me, brought me back. Um, I just felt like I fell asleep. A few nights later, the same thing, except that night, it took a while to get back. He had to Narcan me 3 times. They ended up calling 911, and I finally woke up before the ambulance got there. And that night I felt, then I knew I had to have it because, when he shot with Narcan, I come back and I started feeling the withdrawals. So, that didn't stop me. I still continued on. This was in November of 2019. It kept getting worse and worse. I ended up wrecking my car. I had a job at 7-Eleven. I nodded out on the way to work one day, was right next to work, hit a median, pretty much totaled my car, busted all 4 tires, bent the subframe, everything. It was pretty much ruined. So I ended up having to quit my job, and then was just living there. My boyfriend got arrested again, so I moved into a room with. I had a friend up there, and I moved into a room with him and this girl. She's my roommate. I was doing good. I was on methadone. I quit doing heroin. I was just doing cocaine, no methadone. Done good until my boyfriend, he went to jail, then they put him in rehab. I went to get him from rehab. By that night, next morning, I was doing heroin again. So at that time, we moved into an apartment with a guy he met in rehab. We ended up all using all the time again. I missed too many days of programs, so I got kicked off, tried to get back on. Was having a hard time making it there every day, so doing that. And it got worse and worse and worse until my boyfriend, he had stole our roommate's car, wrecked it, totaled it, stole his credit card, spent a bunch of money, got arrested again. And then the roommate ended up moving out, and I let some people stay there. Some people I found that was homeless. They got into fights, and we ended up getting kicked out of the apartment because it was a big ruckus. And my boyfriend got arrested again. So I went to live with this woman I didn't really know. She was a prostitute, very, very mean, but I needed somewhere to go. So I moved to an apartment with her and 2 other women. Um, she was hard to deal with. She was a lot bigger than me, so she ended up hitting me and knocking me down. I wasn't fighting her because she was a big woman. I wasn't doing it. But like she would make me give her money. I was getting unemployment. She would like make me give her so much money. Was like taking my drugs, everything. So I ended up moving out because my boyfriend had a cellmate said that I could live with his girlfriend. So I moved in with her. It was good. He got out of jail. We went back on the program. Everybody in the house was using, so we started using again too. Stayed there until his cellmate got out of jail, and he come home. He was using. It was not a good place to be staying. So we moved back into the place that had been recovered off, but wasn't no more. And by that time, it was pretty much a crack house. The place before that was also a crack house. We moved in there. We about got kicked out multiple times because they wanted so much money a day. But we ended up staying there.
So if you weren't working, how were you making money to like afford this habit?
My boyfriend was working, and I would panhandle. I would panhandle. There was a 7-Eleven across from the place, and I would panhandle there. I had a lot of regular people. I never did prostitution. Most of the girls there did. That is something I never did. I'm glad I didn't. But with him, like he making money, he was a mason. My boyfriend was making money, so between that and me panhandling, we was enough to keep it on. And also, people were good to buy us food. I guess 7-Eleven, I'd ask the customer, like, hey, can you please give me something to eat? Most people would buy me something to eat, you
because
know.
you were
So,
under 80 pounds.
yeah, I didn't eat very much. There was a that didn't have food, and then there was a guy, he has an organization called Easy's Angels, and he goes around up there, gives out bags of food, and helps those that are homeless and on drugs. And, like, if you want to go to rehab, he'll put you in rehab. He gives out winter coats. He's very good. Like, he's very good to help people. So, there was a lot of times he was the only reason I got to eat. Um, so, but I was getting worse by the day. Like, my life consisted constantly of just panhandling, getting the money, going to get drugs, doing them, going back to panhandle. That was a constant cycle, day in and day out, constant. And, it was just getting worse until, like, and I wanted to get clean. I wanted to go to rehab, but I didn't have the power myself to do it. And I talked to my mom. She's like, please come home. She's like, anytime, just tell me. I will come get you. And, like, I had other friends that I'll come get you. Friends in Maryland's like, you don't belong here. Like, go home. I will get you a bus ticket. Go home. I'm like, well, I didn't want to leave my boyfriend. I said, he has nobody else. I don't want to abandon him. And he was abusive physically. Um, I never called the cops on him. Never tried to fight him back, except once. But, like, he would choke me. He about broke my neck one time. He got by the hair of the head, throwing me in bushes, throwing chairs at me, driving me across floors, hitting me. It was bad. He would never usually do it in front of people. He did it in front of one man, and the man did nothing about it. He just watched it like nothing. Um, but I was scared to leave. I didn't really have anywhere to go. Like, I wasn't ready to clean. So, but then when he called my mom to come get me, she was already there. They had drove up like 2 days before, was going to try to find me and get me to come home. I had no idea they were there. They had GPS tracker on my phone, which I knew that. They just kept me where I was because I was staying at a hotel a lot because there was a shooting at the house that I was at. The drug dealer was there. They tried to shoot him. So him and his girlfriend moved out into a hotel. And they were asking me to go over there and hang out with her because she felt safe with me and needed a friend. So I was going over there to her and also transferring the drugs back and forth. My mom kept asking me, like, why are you at this hotel? And I would tell her, like, I'm staying here with Pam. She needs me. Um, so that morning when she called, they were staying like a town over. And, like, when I called and she's like, I'm here now. I was shocked, but like, it just worked out because if they wouldn't have got me that day, I probably would have got beat up when my boyfriend left for work since everybody in the house was mad at me. Like, because the night before that, there were several women in there threatening to beat me up. Like, I couldn't say nothing. If I walked in my room, they'd bust in. They were angry. The only reason they wasn't is because my boyfriend was there. So I knew pretty much if she left, I knew it was going to be bad. But my parents got there before they did. So I left, never went back, never planned on going back. I'm working with my boyfriend. Um, Cause, like, I told him, like, look, if you'll get clean, you can move in here, like, move down here, get a recovery house. But he wouldn't really get clean, and I was done. Like, I'm like, look, I can't be with you anymore. I don't want this. And which he was mad at me, he told me he'd never forgive me. Just fine, he don't have to. He has got clean on and off since then. He won't stay clean. He recently got arrested for beating up his girlfriend, so he's back in jail again, and was still using. So, you know, I'm just glad I'm not a part of that anymore. I'm in a good, healthy relationship now. This man is very good to me, treats me good, not abusive, not on drugs, supportive. Like, you know, it's worked out and the best for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite the 3-year adventure that you, and it's nice to see you're done now. What makes, you never went to rehab then?
No, I stay with my parents. They were supportive. I have a great support system. Really, nobody in recovery, but I have great friends. My best friend I'm actually with right now, she has supported me so much. There was so many days I texted her and I'm like, look, I can't do this. She's like, you can do this. She listened to me for hours on end, complain and go on, but she never gave up on me. And we've been best friends since I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I'm 32 now. And I couldn't have done it without her because I stay with her a lot. You know, I'm going to be back in her life, could be in her kids' life. I love her kids. They're like my nieces and nephew. I love her husband. Like, they are good to me. They support me. They always have encouraged me from day one. And, you know, I've had other friends, some has come and some has gone, but I've had a few that stuck by me. And with them, my parents and my sister, they made it very easy. Like, my counselor told me in my clinic, he's like, look, you have everything set up for success. He said, there's no reason you shouldn't succeed.
Are
And,
you
you
afraid
know,
to go back to NA?
um, I went when I was in Maryland. I can't say it really helped me, honestly. Um, I know for one, I didn't fit in, which I know I was up north. I was from the country, you know. It's like a whole different culture up there. They knew I was different. I mean, I'm up there in my cowboy boots. That's what I wear. I always wear is cowboy boots. And I was just different. Like most people up north, they're all loud. I'm not a loud person. I'm quiet, kind of laid back. But
Yeah, I'm
I
from
found a few
Philadelphia.
people.
We're definitely loud. I'm from Philly, and I
Yes,
can
I'm like,
say that we're
that's
loud.
just how people there are. But there's people like I found I was kind of friends with, but like none of them I really connected with. Which I mean, I had another cousin up there too, and she's not married to him, but there was a girlfriend. She was my sponsor. I loved her; it was great. But I just didn't really fit in, and I didn't feel like it really helped me because I was still in a meeting, but I relapsed, and I didn't feel like it helped me. So I have not went back to NA. And like I feel like you know I've been successful. Like I have given my life back to God. I'm a Christian. I go to church when I can. I have Christian friends, you know, that I have there for me to support me, pray for me, and I know that's what gets me through a lot of days is those people.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure if going to NA would feel like dangerous to you, considering that like the last time you were in NA, you met a guy who
Yeah,
helped you relapse, and then you know what I mean, you got high
yeah,
and just kept you sick for years.
yeah,
And I wasn't sure if like you were afraid to go back because you'd be afraid to like meet a guy like him again. I think you could get a lot out of it. I'm in NA, and
mm,
I get a lot out of my meetings. You get what you put into it, with the
yeah,
intention. I personally, my wife doesn't. They
mm,
they use recovery dharma. It's like a Buddhist approach to recovery, and
okay,
so I don't do recovery dharma. I do NA, and I do Gamblers Anonymous on the weekends. Um,
okay,
but like because my addiction was opiates too. Um, I haven't touched an opiate since April 24th of 2018.
okay,
So, if I can get 6 years, you can get there too, because you're
yeah,
halfway there. I didn't
yes,
do methadone. I didn't do Suboxone. I was afraid of Suboxone because it would just keep me sick. So
yes,
I went to rehab, and they offered me Suboxone, and I was like, no, I don't want to take a drug that I'm going to need to come back here in a year to get off of. Like,
exactly,
I don't want to take anything.
yeah,
And they were like, okay, well, it's going to be really bad. And I said, it needs to be bad. Sometimes it needs to be bad so that you remember what the
exactly,
pain's like, so you don't want to go back again.
exactly.
So
Once I've gone through that was enough for me, and it sounds like it was for you too.
the methadone,
Yeah, even the withdrawal from that was just as bad. It just, I think it drug it out more. But I'm like, that's nothing I ever want to go through again, ever. Even tapering, it was bad, really, really bad.
yeah,
But
yep,
the memory stuck with me, and I'm like, I never want to go through that again. Never, ever. As long as I live, I don't want to do that no more. Like, my life is too good now. I mean, I have a lot of good in my life. I'm going to school. I graduate in a month. I'm taking substance abuse counseling. Um, I never thought of myself too smart. Like I passed school and all that, done good. But so far, I have made the dean's list. I've made straight A's, and I'm on the honor society. So that has had my self esteem a lot. You know, I'm like, look, I'm not as dumb as I thought I was because up north I was called the stupid hillbilly. That's what everybody called me, was the stupid hillbilly. Told me how stupid I was, you know, and I'm like, well, apparently I'm a little smarter than you because I got my act together, got clean, staying clean, and I'm going to school and making good grades, and you're still out there on
Getting
the
hot.
streets. Yes. So I'm like, I'm not a stupid hillbilly. Like, I'm a hillbilly, always will be, proud of it, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm excited about, you know, being able to be a counselor and help people struggling. You know, I feel like that's why I was given a chance, you know, overdosing 4 times, having guns fell to my head, knives on me, all things I went through, but I made it through. It was a miracle. I know it's God's miracle I'm alive, but I feel like I was given a chance for a reason. And I feel like that reason is to help other addicts.
Yep.
So
I
that's
couldn't
why I
agree
like share
more.
my story to give other people hope because, like, I've had people contact me and they're like, look, you know, I would like to hear your story because you give me hope. And, you know, different, I've met complete strangers, like at the bank, and they would ask me about school, and I tell them. And they're like, look, my son, like, he's just now went to rehab. And, like, they're like, you give me hope, you know, for my child. And it's been several people. And, you know, it makes me feel good that, you know, I can give people hope for their family or for themselves or whoever.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it was great talking to you, Audrey. I'm really glad that you made it to the other side because Baltimore is not an easy city to live in.
No, it's not. It's nowhere I ever want to go back. Like, you know, I met some friends up there. I'm like, you know, I'd like to see them, but I cannot risk going back up there. Not that I want to use, but I know it's up there. It's on every street corner. And I'm like, it's not worth my sobriety for going back. And, you know, I stay away from any triggers whatsoever. Like, I make sure of that. There, make sure even places that I used in Tennessee, that I like one of them towns, like, I've cut pretty much almost everybody off, like, that was ever using, had anything to do with it. Because I'm
Well,
like, none of that is going to.
luckily for you, you never got high in Asheville.
Yes, I never did. So, I mean, I
So,
know it's around and I know where, you know, I know where to go, but I have no desire to. Because, I mean, I go down the road now and I see these people. You tell they're on drugs, you can tell they're sick, you know, they're homeless. And I'm like, I mean, my heart goes out to them. So I'm like, I know how that feels, you know, but it gives me a reminder that I don't want to be there. And then, even since in the last like 5 years, I've known, I can think of right about 30 people that's either overdosed or got shot over drugs. And I'm like, that could have been me, but it wasn't me. So, and I feel like if I went back, I feel like I would end up dead.
yeah.
So,
Well, you made it through, Audrey.
I did. And I'm so thankful I
So,
did.
and now you can try to reach one person with this episode that's struggling, that's living in homeless shelters, that's panhandling, that's sticking a needle in their arm every day, that's underweight, dangerously
Yeah.
underweight. Um, yeah, it's not an easy thing to come back from.
No,
So
it's not. But, you know, but feeling the way I do now, like, I'm proud of myself. I
you
feel
should be.
good about myself, you know, and seeing from where I come from, where I am now, is a completely different person. Like, you know, it's I've come a long way, and I know it's been God that's given me no chance and helped me get this far. You know, He deserves all the praise because I'll be dead. I had a lot of people pray for me from all over, from Tennessee, North Carolina, Baltimore, everywhere. People were praying for me, and I believe that's why I'm still here with all them people.
Are you close with your cousin again now that you're clean?
We still talk. You know, of course, you know, he encourages me, he said he's proud of me. You know, I don't, of course, see him, but, you know, we do still stay in touch. You know, we will message him on Facebook, FaceTime every now and then, but he has 20 some years clean. So, He was a big inspiration. I have another first cousin. Also, he has, I don't know, probably somewhere in the teens clean. And I see the life they've had, where they've come from, because addiction runs in both sides of my family. So I had it coming from both sides, even though neither one of my parents were drug addicts. My dad was on drugs some, but he was never really an addict. But he hadn't done anything in 40 some years.
Hmm.
But I had my grandfather on my dad's side. He was an alcoholic, died from alcoholism. I had aunts, uncles, cousins on my mom's side, all addicts. So,
Oh, you're doing great. I'm glad to see that
mm-hmm.
you have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a support system, that's what the meetings are for. But it sounds like
Yeah,
you build a nice support system around you when it comes to the church and friends and family, and
yeah,
you said you're going to school. These are
mm-hmm.
all things that you wouldn't be able to do in addiction.
Exactly.
So, well, keep doing what you're doing, Audrey.
Thank you, and thank you for doing these podcasts. I'm sure they help a lot of people, and thank you for inviting me to be on here and let me share my story.